use a directional microphone, and they listen to your conversation and clear it.
Yeah.
And there's many, many examples like that. You can track what your keyboard is doing before the cryptography happens. You look at your banking transactions, you're walking around, everybody's on camera. So I get your point, and I think on a small scale it's true. You know, if you do bad stuff on a small scale, like a pickpocket or somebody, you'll be able to get away with it using our system. But those people aren't really a big threat to society. But if you do bad stuff on a big scale, and you make big enemies, and they devote determined resources to tracking you, they will get you. Doesn't matter what
or even small
you use.
enemies with the capability.
Yeah.
It's David and Goliath.
Because there'll be also enforceability. Like if we have some mafia contracts that track normal people, then who's going to enforce that? If you go to the normal court of law, then they'd probably be going after the people that are scamming, doing some pyramid scheme or something, and protecting you. Well, there's also that body of law, right?
Well, it's a much longer conversation.
Of
I just simply note that the normal recourse to that we normally use political systems to keep large-scale bad actors in check is not open to us in your vision.
Well, the large-scale guys actually, I think, are getting away with stuff today. I mean,
Well,
It's true. That is so true. This is a big
but in
discussion.
fact, we do manage to keep them in check to some degree, like HSBC.
No, but that was only a $1.5 billion slap. They were doing billions and billions and billions of
I think
transactions.
this is a whole big
Yeah.
conversation. Are there any other questions?
It was a kiss on the wrist.
Go ahead. If 1 is the concept of on a task and 10 is production, where do you sit on that scale?
Okay, so out of 1 to 10, I think we're at about a 7 or an 8 right now, because we started back in 2010. So it's been many years in development, and we've actually had systems that are functional for more than a year. There are virtual economies that are running in our system, and the people are commenting that they've never seen a system that is so secure in terms of the transactions are absolutely integrous. They've never had a single failure, and it's because of how it's designed. But the problem is that initially it was designed as a prototype, so it was just a proof of concept. So even though it works, it's not designed for millions of simultaneous users to use it. So if we were to roll it out today, it would work, but for a few hundred people. It needs to work for millions of people. And that's not a trivial upgrade. It takes actually years to build those enterprise class servers and so on to make sure they're highly robust and they're not easy to attack and all that kind of thing. So we've been doing that. We've had to, we started with that about a year ago, re-architecting the system from the ground up, from scratch, and re-implementing it for enterprise class, because we want to run the economy on this. There's people that are literally now building global securities exchanges on our system. This is not in discussion, they're actually doing it. And the nice thing is that you don't have to wait until our enterprise system is ready, because we're going to use exactly the same APIs for the enterprise version that we used for the proof of concept open source version, which means you can start developing today using our open source, the open transactions. You might have heard of open transactions. My business partner is Chris O'Donnell. He is the guy who designed open transactions, also known as Fellow Traveler. So you can use open transactions today and start building your application on that, and it'll work, but it just won't be super fast or scale to a lot of users. And then once we have the enterprise version ready, you just switch over. Uses exactly the same APIs. So it's an easy upgrade. And in terms of timeline, we want to have the enterprise version ready by the middle of next year. Yeah. And in the meantime, we have a mobile app that's working, which we can demo today. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Is there demand for that kind of service?
Huge. People want it yesterday. They are hurting today because they don't have something like this.
Yeah.
I'll just give you one example. There's a big global money transfer business. Somebody like Western Union. I'm not going to mention their name, but they really desperately need our system because the governments are putting more and more pressure on KYC and anti-money laundering and all of that kind of stuff. And the cost of it is going through the roof. And people are so scared that, in the financial industry in particular, that they are choosing to shut down businesses even though those businesses are not doing anything wrong. They just think, well, this sounds a bit risky, I'm just rather not going to deal with you. And that's just happened to this money transfer business. And this is something essential to their business. So they need something like our system yesterday. So that is why we are moving as fast as we can to get it to enterprise class.
And a quick question to elaborate on it. You mentioned that right now miners are subsidizing the transaction fees.
Yeah.
So does it mean in the future you will be charging these transaction fees when it becomes when ecosystem becomes more complex, and it will be hard to for miners to subsidize those transactions?
Well, I think miners are going to, well, as long as Bitcoin is the dominant currency, we're going to have the miners, and we're going to have those transaction costs. And I think Bitcoin has a very good chance of being the currency. In spite of all the altcoins that are out there, I think Bitcoin has an excellent chance of remaining the leading one. And it forms a really, really important function. Because we are not doing all the transactions on the blockchain doesn't mean we don't believe in the blockchain. That would be like saying, in the old analogy of gold, that just because we are trading gold receipts, you don't need the gold anymore. We do need the gold. Without the gold, we look at what's happened today. All the money is being inflated into nothing. So the gold is there to secure the whole system. That's what the Bitcoin blockchain is. It's the security, it's digital gold. But it's not designed to do every single transaction on it. And in terms of our transaction costs, we've calculated what the total cost is, including the server costs, the bandwidth costs, the whole thing for doing a transaction. It's almost immeasurably small, 1/100,000th of 1 cent, which means you can do micro-transactions profitably. You can do a transaction for half a cent, or a tenth, or 100th of a cent, very profitably, which means you can read web pages and just pay for that article. It enables a whole new set of applications.
Okay, I'm going to jump right here and would want to end it with 2 questions. One, Ed saw there, and Scott here in the back.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw in the concept of colored coins and master coin. I'm just curious how your technology, we talked a little bit about Ripple, how it compares to those two, because I see a lot of attention around those.
We think colored coins is a really good idea. It enables a lot of things. One of the guys here asked about volatility and how difficult that is to deal with. Well, colored coins is one way to completely eliminate volatility. You can fix whatever the level is that you want in whatever currency you want, and that's fixed. 0 volatility. But in addition to that, colored coins allow us to do cross-border transactions in a way that isn't cross-border. In other words, there's no physical money that anybody could point to that's going across a border, but nevertheless you have money transmission going on. You do basically the sale from a currency into a Bitcoin or a colored coin in one country. The colored coin is transferred to another country, and then you have the opposite transaction on the other side. So what's going across the border is a colored coin, but it's not going across the border. It's just sitting on the blockchain. It's not moving. But it enables you to do the same thing as if you had a cross-border transaction. So I think it's a very important concept.
Last question at the back, gentlemen.
You mentioned that you need resources to scale your enterprise systems. But then you also talked about how in the Ripple system, there's sort of centralized gateways. How does your centralized thing that you're talking about needing resources for, how does that differ from like gateways that operate undesirable?
Sure. So in our system, I would say the only thing that's centralized is the people that are building the system. But the system, once it operates, is not centralized at all. So I think the best analogy is BitTorrent. BitTorrent, which took over from Napster. Napster was centralized, so it could be shut down. Then they developed BitTorrent, which is totally decentralized, can't be shut down, as we know. They've spent billions and all kinds of efforts, and it cannot be shut down. And there's all kinds of BitTorrent versions out there. It's all open source. But the company that develops BitTorrent is a central entity, if you want to call it that, that's based in San Francisco. So in that sense, they are centralized, but it doesn't have any impact on the decentralization of their technology or the effectiveness of the technology. And in the same way, yeah, we are a company that's developing this technology, but then once the technology is out there, anybody can use it, and it cannot be stopped. In fact, you could kill our company, take every one of us and put us in prison, and it wouldn't change the fact that the technology is out there and people can use it.
Where does the software run that, perhaps?
Right.
Signing, because
that's a very good question.
BitTorrent analogy, it's the indexes are the ones that require the resources for scaling and whatnot. And those are the things that can shut down.
Yes.
So your central thing is the index, but also does the signing.
There's no central thing like that in our system. The decentralization direction is the single thing that we pay more attention to than anything else. And it's not an easy black-white thing. There are so many aspects that could be centralized or decentralized. And in every level, we are designing the system to be more and more and more decentralized. And in fact, even in our organization, the organization is based in Switzerland, but we have people in different countries. So if you have a meteor hitting Switzerland, the organization won't be affected. But anyway, to get to your question, the technology, we are not operating the technology. That's quite a clear decision we made right back when we started. We're just producing the software. Other people use the software to operate different businesses that they want to operate on. And how it actually works, it's a client-server system. So the client would be something you run on your mobile phone, for example. So you download it onto your mobile phone. So I have one copy on my phone, you have a copy on your phone. If we want to do a transaction, it goes from my client to a server to you. So it's client-server. So then the question is, who is the server? We could have chosen to operate the servers, and we would have made a lot of money for it, because there's billions of dollars that are going to be made. We've done the calculations. But if we did that, we would be centralized. We would be an operator. So we've chosen not to do that. We basically are creating an opportunity for other people to be server operators. Anybody just downloads the software and they have a computer or a server, they run the software and they can collect transaction fees, and they can make money that way. And all these servers in the world can compete with each other. It's like internet service providers.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Johan. All right, everybody, that was pretty awesome. There was a lot of information here. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Johan. Thank you, Mozilla. And thank you to the Bitcoin Alliance of Canada. Everybody, feel free to hang out for a little bit here until 8 o'clock. Thank you very much.